Let's get straight to the point. Number 8. Corn Flakes. You probably view this cereal as the most boring, innocent part of a balanced breakfast. Basically, crunchy cardboard designed to deliver milk to your face. But the origin story of this morning staple is weirdly obsessed with your bedroom habits. In the late 19th century, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg ran the Battle Creek Sanitarium, a health resort that was basically a house of horrors disguised as a spa. Kellogg was a man with specific, intense ideas about health, and his arch nemesis was passion. He firmly believed that spicy or flavorful foods inflamed the senses and led people to commit sins of the flesh, specifically the kind you do alone when the door is locked. To combat this, he set out to engineer the blandest food humanly possible. He and his brother accidentally left some cooked wheat sitting out. It went stale, and they rolled it flat. The result was a flake so dull that Kellogg was convinced it would chemically cure the world of its urges. So, when you eat that rooster-mascoted cereal, remember, you were eating a medical prescription designed to murder your libido and make you a bored monk. It's ironic we coat them in sugar, exactly what the doctor hated.
Number 7. Treadmills. If you hate cardio, your instincts are actually protecting you from a torture device. That machine you pay to use wasn't invented for gains, it was designed solely to inflict human suffering. In 1818, English engineer Sir William Cubitt looked at British prisoners and decided they looked too relaxed. His solution was the treadwheel, a massive rotating cylinder equipped with steps. Inmates were forced to climb this beast for hours, ascending a vertical equivalent of 14,000 feet every single day. That is like climbing halfway up Mount Everest daily, but with zero views and terrible food. The device used this forced labor to crush grain, hence the name treadmill, but the true purpose was psychological warfare. The sheer monotony of exerting massive effort to go absolutely nowhere crushed the prisoners' spirits so badly that Britain eventually outlawed the machines for being too cruel. Fast forward to today, and we voluntarily put on neon shorts to recreate this penal servitude. It is the ultimate historical prank. We have convinced ourselves that Victorian torture is a luxury wellness activity. Next time you hit the incline button, just know you are literally role-playing as a convict from the 1800s.
Number 6. The chainsaw. When you hear the roar of a chainsaw, you likely picture burly lumberjacks felling redwoods or a horror movie villain chasing teenagers through a cornfield. It is the ultimate symbol of brute force destruction. But originally, this terrifying machine was a delicate medical instrument designed to assist with the miracle of childbirth. Yes, seriously. Before cesarean sections were safe or sanitary, doctors faced a nightmare scenario if a baby got stuck in the birth canal. In the 1780s, 2 Scottish doctors invented the prototype chainsaw specifically to perform a procedure called a symphysiotomy. This gruesome method involved using a hand-cranked chain with serrated teeth to literally saw through the mother's pelvic bone and cartilage to widen the exit path. And keep in mind, anesthesia in the 18th century was non-existent, maybe a shot of whiskey if you were lucky. This grueling device was standard practice for decades before someone realized the mechanics worked better on timber than on human hips. So the next time you see someone trimming a hedge, just remember that tool was invented to slice through a living skeleton while the patient was wide awake.
Number 5. Fanta. You likely know Fanta as the bright, bubbly soda associated with fun parties and fruity flavors, but its origin story is less good vibes and more Third Reich. Back in the late 1930s, Coca-Cola was surprisingly massive in Germany. However, when World War II escalated, the Allies imposed strict trade embargoes that completely cut off the supply of the secret American syrup. Max Keith, the head of Coca-Cola Germany, was a businessman who refused to let a global war against fascism hurt his bottom line. He needed a product he could manufacture using only the scraps available within the isolated Nazi state. The solution was a Frankendrink made from industrial leftovers, specifically apple fiber residue from cider presses, and whey, the watery, milky byproduct of cheese curdling. It was essentially sweetened garbage water. They named it Fanta, derived from the German word Fantasie, because you needed a serious imagination to enjoy drinking cheese byproduct. It became the soda of the regime.
After the war, American executives swooped in, reclaimed the factory, and eventually refined the recipe into the orange drink we know. So when you sip that soda, you were drinking a desperate wartime invention designed to keep profits flowing while Europe burned.
Number 4. Heroin. Today, heroin is viewed as one of the most destructive and illegal substances on the planet. But in the late 1890s, if you had a nasty cough or a fussy baby, your friendly local doctor would prescribe it to you by the bottle. The German pharmaceutical giant Bayer, yes, the same company that makes your aspirin today, commercialized the drug in 1898. They were specifically looking for a non-addictive alternative to morphine, which is hilarious in hindsight because they accidentally invented something significantly more addictive. They named the drug heroin, based on the German word heroisch, meaning heroic, because early test subjects said the medicine made them feel powerful and brave. Bayer marketed it aggressively as a soothing syrup for children suffering from colds, bronchitis, and tuberculosis. Vintage advertisements literally featured smiling kids holding the bottle. The science was deeply flawed. They didn't realize that once the chemical enters the liver, it metabolizes right back into morphine, just faster. It took them over a decade to stop selling it over the counter. So for years, responsible parents were unknowingly dosing their toddlers with hard narcotics to help them sleep.
Number 3. Lysol. You likely keep a bottle of Lysol under your kitchen sink to nuke germs on your counters or scrub the toilet. It is the scent of aggressive sterilization. But for decades, this harsh industrial chemical was marketed exclusively for use inside the most sensitive part of the human body. In the early 20th century, long before strict FDA regulations, Lysol was aggressively sold as a feminine hygiene product. The company's ads used coded language about preserving marital bliss, which was a polite way of telling women to use it as a contraceptive. The horrifying problem was that the active ingredient was cresol, a toxic compound derived from coal tar that is great at killing bacteria, but also fantastic at burning living tissue. Medical records from the 1930s are filled with reports of severe chemical burns, inflammation, and even fatal poisoning. Despite knowing that the product was sending women into shock and comas, the company ruthlessly doubled down, running ads implying husbands would leave wives who didn't use it. It wasn't until much later that they pivoted to cleaning toilet bowls, which, chemically speaking, is where this acid belonged all along.
Number 2. The Volkswagen Beetle. When you spot a Volkswagen Beetle, you probably think of the summer of love, hippies, and peace signs. It is the undisputed mascot of the 1960s counterculture and that adorable movie car Herbie. But this cute bug was literally the pet project of Adolf Hitler. In the 1930s, the dictator wanted a cheap vehicle for the Aryan family, so he met with engineer Ferdinand Porsche to sketch out the design. He called it the Strength Through Joy car. However, the history of the factory is where the true horror hides. The manufacturing plant in Wolfsburg wasn't staffed by happy workers. During the war, it was fueled by the forced slave labor of thousands of prisoners taken from concentration camps. These people were worked to death building military vehicles and the early prototypes of your favorite vintage ride. After the war, the factory was saved by a British officer, and the car somehow shed its genocidal origins. It is the wildest rebranding in history. A vehicle commissioned by a monster and built by slaves became the global icon for peace and love.
Number 1. Mummy Brown. When you admire a masterpiece in a museum, you might actually be staring at the crushed remains of a human being. For centuries, European artists were obsessed with a pigment called mummy brown. It was prized for its rich, transparent glaze, which was perfect for shading. However, the name wasn't a cute marketing gimmick. This paint was literally manufactured by digging up ancient Egyptian mummies, grinding their dried bodies into a fine powder, and mixing the corpse dust with oil. This wasn't a fringe ritual, it was a booming industry. Thousands of preserved ancestors were looted from tombs, shipped to Europe, and pulverized to create art supplies. We essentially painted our way through Egyptian history. It was considered completely normal until the late 19th century, when the artist Edward Burne-Jones discovered the true ingredients. He was so horrified to learn he was smearing a dead person onto his canvas that he gave his tube of paint a formal funeral in his garden.
The production only stopped in the 1960s because we literally ran out of mummies to grind up. So, that beautiful painting? It is a cemetery on a canvas.
If you liked hearing about all the horrible historical secrets hiding in your pantry and gym bag, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We post new videos like this every day, breaking down more of the world's weirdest facts, so you'll always have something horrifying to share at your next dinner party.